Your radio show, and Raelynn Bean is here from Central Valley Electric Cooperative. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Well, what is it? Is it Wednesday?
It is. I keep thinking it's Thursday, and I'm getting disappointed.
Well, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
Absolutely. I guess Monday and Tuesday was just so busy. It felt like 3 days instead of just 2.
Yeah. Well, yesterday, it threatened to rain a little bit. Didn't rain a whole lot. I didn't see any lightning. There was a soccer game yesterday.
Okay.
And, do they play soccer in the rain? And they do.
They do.
But they don't play any outdoor activity in the lightning.
Absolutely.
And so that's...
telling you, those coaches watch that stuff. I know Dusty had an app on his phone, and he could see where the closest lightning strike was. So
yeah. So it was I was over there for a little while. We were testing interfacing with the new camera systems at the fields, which we were able to get to work, the interfacing, but the camera was being programmed, so there was no video.
Gotcha.
So that's why we couldn't do video yesterday. And I wasn't going to put one of our conventional cameras in the rain on the roof. So that's why we're kind of looking forward to see how this all interface. But lightning is a scary thing, and is part of the training. You can't really train for lightning, but are some of the things that you worry about with lightning similar to power lines and stuff like that?
Well, lightning likes to strike tall objects. So, power pole, especially one out in the middle of nowhere, out in the oil field, and lightning does like to strike that. And so if they hit a pole or the wire, it just puts more energy into that line that it can't handle, and that's when transformers and different things start to see issues with that. So
yeah, transformers exploding in the night
exploding in the night. Yes.
No fun.
No, absolutely not.
When that happens. But there's a lot of safety issues that you have to worry about in those types of things.
There really are. And so last Friday we had a safety meeting, and as part of that safety meeting we got to take a field trip to that little substation that's kind of right there by Adobe Rose. It's one of our substations, kind of catty corner to us. And so some of the ladies up front, some of the newer ones, just kind of get them in there and talk to them about the different things, and they pointed out some wires kind of up around the top of the substation, and they said that was kind of lightning protection, so the substation doesn't get hit, because if the substation goes down, then there's a lot of trouble.
A lot of people without power.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. I'd been in that substation on more than one occasion, and honestly hadn't looked up and paid that much attention to it. So.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, I guess, how substations work. I guess the power, is it like an amplifier? Is it a leveler? What is... So, I didn't mean to ask you.
No, that's fine. I learned this the other day. We'll see if I retained it.
Okay.
So usually those substations are going to have the really big, tall transmission lines coming in, and the transmission lines have anywhere from 69,000 to 14,400 volts coming in. And I hope I'm saying that right. I may not be saying that right, but it's got a lot of power coming in.
Right.
And so that substation kind of steps down that power to a workable power to go into the distribution lines, which is a smaller line, that's what it is. Those are 7,200 typically. And then the transformers that you see on the poles, then that steps that power down even more to go into your home safely. So.
And this was all developed because at the time electricity was being rolled out, there were two competing concepts. There was alternating current, AC, and there was direct current, DC. Right. Thomas Edison was big on the DC side of things.
Right.
But the problem with DC is you had to have a substation every so many blocks or whatever.
Right.
It required a lot of locations in order to make that electricity available. Whereas with the alternating current, you use the high voltage lines to travel great distances with the power, and then you step it down for the end user and for the consumers.
Right.
It's amazing technology.
I was thinking about it too while we were there at that substation. Because they were kind of explaining. One of the ladies asked what's inside the big transformer, basically. And, there's coils and windings and magnets and oil. And, I mean, who thought of all that?
Right.
It's just amazing to me that the trial and error and electricity is something I don't know that I would want to maybe experiment too much with.
There was a movie, I don't know, The Current Wars, which you might find interesting, and it goes back in time, the battle between Westinghouse and Edison, and all that. It's kind of an interesting thing. I was also, there's weird things that come up on YouTube. There's the lock and dam system on the Mississippi River. Is how the barge traffic is able to navigate the river quickly. So they'll dam up a part of the river and create this lock. The barge comes in, the gates close, and then the water level is either raised or lowered depending on which direction the barge is going.
All right.
And then the other side gates open up and the barge goes on. Well, in Keokuk, Iowa, there's a power generation station that was originally surveyed by Robert E. Lee.
Oh, wow.
The guy from the Confederacy.
Right.
Because we weren't separate then.
Right.
He was working for the government. And then private citizens in that area of Iowa and Illinois pooled their money together, and they built a power generating station.
There you go.
Hydroelectric power generating station on the river to harness that water while they were building that big project. And one of the things they say in their history is that a lot of because they had clients in St. Louis, so they were going to generate the power, but they had to get it down the road to St. Louis where the customers were that needed the power.
Right.
Well, they didn't have high voltage, high tension transmission system in 1913.
Right.
So a lot of the things that they created to get the power from the power generation station in Keokuk, Iowa to the customers in St. Louis are still being used today by utilities to get power across great distances.
Right.
It's just interesting to read.
Right, it is.
It's like you say, how did we know that then? And then we're still...
And like it's just the trial and error, and, it's crazy.
Yeah, we got all this water rushing through here. Let's put some turbines in here that'll spin, and they'll spin and generate electricity, and then we'll share it with the people, Well, not share it, but make it available.
Make it available.
Because they have to get their money back.
Right.
It is an interesting thing. And you'll see these transmission lines all around New Mexico because there's power coming in, is there power going out, or is it...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like its own little highway system, The bigger the pole, the longer the distance it's going.
Yeah.
The higher the voltage, typically.
It's amazing. And then the substations are very important to make that power available for the consumers. So, well, cool. It just intrigues me when I see those things. And then the lightning, and you go, okay, well, how does that affect everything? Right. So the system is designed, if the lightning does hit a transmission line, it has to dissipate that energy somehow?
Somehow. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I just know that there was that lightning protection above that substation.
Yeah.
For sure. There's a lot of protection. So there was one part, I couldn't even tell you the equipment name that it was attached to, but it just looks like kind of a cage, kind of plastic cage, and protecting something. And it's bird protection.
Okay.
Those birds like to nest in all different kinds of places. So in that substation, there was protection so the birds don't get into it, because birds and critters and all different kinds of things can cause issues in substations as well.
It's okay if they sit on the lines.
If they're just on the one line.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's part of your safety.
That is.
For the kids, too, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. How come birds can stand on there but not people?
Right. And I love the answers that the kids give.
Oh.
They're great.
They have all kinds of theories.
Yes, they think they have rubber feet, or they have all kinds. Their feathers insulate them.
Yeah.
They have all kinds of answers. It's fun to hear the different answers every year.
Rubber feet. Huh?
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, and there's some kids that are adamant that that's the reason.
Yeah, they have rubber feet. That's interesting. I never thought that, but it's logical to think that.
Sure.
But no, they don't have rubber feet.
They don't.
That's interesting. So if somebody wants, if they're running a business, or I know you work with the schools or whatever, if somebody has a business, they've got crews, and they just want to do a basic safety demonstration on what to do in case they encounter downlines.
They can give us a call. We would love to come out and do our free safety demonstrations. Usually for the companies, if we can, we have our larger arcing demonstration, especially if people are having to cross under lines with large equipment. Mm-hmm. Just to give your employees a good understanding of what to do in case that equipment does get into the power lines. So we go over all that kind of stuff.
Good. Yeah. You might want to add guy wires.
Yes, we do talk about those as well.
Yeah.
Those little things can get in the way sometimes.
And we don't want them to.
We don't want them to, no.
Very good. Well, anything else?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, that was fun.
That was.
I like talking about electricity.
History lesson, kind of.
Kind of. All right. Well, we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks.
And that's it for the show today. Clay and Buck are